this.
When it comes to analyzing something, everybody has something new that they can bring to the table. Something nobody else saw or realized about it. I believe that's what makes an analysis beautiful, bringing things to the surface that perhaps someone may have never even considered before. From films and television to even video games, there's always something really amazing to uncover. That's the beautiful thing about storytelling, discovering something nobody saw, or interpreting something different than somebody else. That is what I find really amazing about any form of visual storytelling. When it comes to video games, which it still is in its infancy of storytelling potential, it is a unique way to tell interesting, hard-hitting, and deliver thought-provoking tales with many themes and subtexts to discover throughout its cinematics and even its gameplay. The original Last of Us is a video game that was released in 2013. This game is set in a post-apocalyptic world caused by a fungal infection that affects the brain by turning its hosts into flesh-eating monsters. Its story centers around a smuggler named Joel, a man who is broken from the loss of his daughter at the beginning of the outbreak. When given a job to escort a little girl named Ellie, who is seemingly immune to this fungal infection, across the country. On their journey, he forges a parental bond with Ellie as they face the dangers of this cruel world. After the game was released, it was given perfect scores across the video game landscape. Game review outlet IGN said, "The Last of Us seemingly interweaves satisfying choice-based gameplay with a stellar narrative." The review goes on to praise the game's emotional story, well-developed characters, its subtext, its major themes, and was considered one of the biggest stories in the video game medium. With the huge success and praise from the first game, developers Naughty Dog went on to make a sequel, The Last of Us Part 2. The story takes place 7 years after the events of the first game, where he plays Ellie, who is now on a quest for revenge against a new character named Abby. For reasons of her own, murdered Ellie's adopted father Joel, and learned the secret about what led to the violent act. The game's themes seem to be, according to reviewers and the game director, about the cycle of violence and hate. However, after playing through the game twice, I believe there's more to this than meets the eye, as though The Last of Us Part 2 is a story about grief and forgiveness, not the cycle of violence and hate. The Last of Us Part 2 is a story with many different points of view, and many themes and subtexts to discover. However, the main themes of the story to me are grief and forgiveness. For starters, throughout the course of the story, you play as Ellie and Abby in order to understand both sides of the narrative. The game starts you off as Ellie, as you experience the death of Joel at the hands of Abby, which kickstarts you on a quest for revenge, which makes you feel Ellie's rage and see her lust for revenge being born. Continuing through Ellie's portion of the story, the hatred towards Abby grows as you raise hell, the post-apocalyptic landscape of Seattle. Along your playtime, you'll experience flashbacks from Ellie's point of view, where you see her experience with Joel and how she shows growing suspicion that Joel may be hiding the truth about what happened in the hospital at the end of the first game. As Ellie gets closer to catching Abby, the flashbacks grow more hateful. Ellie's relationship with Joel is shown to be growing more and more tense, displaying Ellie's distrust towards Joel and finally learning the truth, feeling as though she had been robbed of the choice to sacrifice herself for a potential cure that would have given her life meaning.
Just say it. Joel.
Making a vaccine would have killed you. so I stopped them.
Oh my God.
After learning Joel chose for her and killed everyone in the hospital, Ellie says their relationship is done. In an extremely heartbreaking scene where Ellie is so angry, she kneels over ready to vomit from the horror of it. However, by the end of the game, it takes a turn, showing the last conversation, which occurs the night before Joel's death, wasn't hateful or even an argument, but about reconciliation, beginning anew, rebuilding their relationship and learning to forgive him. As Ellie confronts Abby, Ellie lets her go. By allowing Abby to live, Ellie is letting her hate and disgust towards Joel's actions go as well. By the end, Ellie is ready to let go and accept what happened and move on with her own life. As you continue to play as Ellie, you witness her go through the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. She decides to let go of her hate so she can move on with her own life. During the game, you also play as Abby after she's already killed Joel. The story chooses to start with Abby killing Joel, and you pick up with her after the fateful event has already occurred. Starting the player off with that, you already hate her for her actions. The only real place you can take the character from there, for the player, is having you learn to forgive Abby through some sort of redemption story arc. Throughout her side of the story, you start to learn her motivations for killing Joel, experiencing the pain she went through. The main reason for killing Joel was that her father was one of the doctors who was developing a cure for the fungal infection, and while saving Ellie from death, Joel killed her father. You learn that Abby's actions were completely justified from her perspective. You learn that her quest for revenge consumed her mentally and physically. You learn she lost the love of her life to the fact that she could only focus on being ready for the moment of revenge to come. Abby is also extremely muscular, physically fit woman who is turning her entire body into a weapon for the sole purpose of being ready for the moment to come to finally get her revenge on Joel. As a player, you start to empathize with her, and you see the toll her revenge quest has taken on her and feel that she is already justified for seeking revenge on Joel. The Last of Us Part 2's game director and writer Neil Druckmann, in an interview panel at PlayStation Gaming Conference PSX in 2017, where the game was first unveiled to everyone around the world, he said, "The story is about the cycle of violence." Druckmann talks about how the cycle of violence is an endless one, and how violence only breeds more violence. Which I completely see how the cycle of violence does indeed fit into this tale. Joel killing Abby's father, then Abby killing Joel to get revenge, leading Ellie on another quest for revenge to kill Abby. I do think that if Ellie had killed Abby, someone would have come to kill Ellie, therefore continuing the cycle of violence, showcasing how the cycle would never end. However, the true themes of the story lie underneath that, not just during the big monumental set-piece moments, but also in the little moments that happen within the story. Thinking about how Ellie comes closer to getting Abby in her clutches, the flashbacks you see of Joel become more and more hateful. However, when Ellie finally has Abby in her grasp, hands around her neck, and about to end this vendetta once and for all, you are given the final flashback. This is the one that is not a dark one. It is hopeful. It's the final conversation between Ellie and Joel, where they reflect on Joel's actions at the hospital and talk about reconciling. The line that still sits in my mind comes from Ellie in tears when she says, "I don't think I could ever forgive you for that, but I would like to try." She then releases Abby from her grip, deciding to let her live. By doing this, Ellie is also letting go of that hate and forgiving Joel for his sins. This moment showcases the real theme of this tale, is forgiveness. By having that specific flashback be revealed when Ellie is about to deliver the final blow to Abby and get her revenge, she changes her mind, and it allows her to finally accept Joel's death and move on.
you.